Hi guys, it's Jacob from StringBuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being the music journalism site, links are in the description down below, and we have a brand new track of the month segment for you. This time it's for May 2017 and it's been a hella good month. I mean, the first 3 weeks or so I thought were astoundingly good. It was difficult for me to even find a track that was even average. There was so many tracks being released by artists I didn't expect to do quite as well as they actually did, and so many artists that I've been a big fan of for a long time anyway, so it's sort of my perfect month for this year. And last month was really good as well, as you can tell by the last track of the month segment we did here on the YouTube channel. So should we just dive into it? We will start with our honourable mentions, this time for the track of the month, and we'll start with Hook, Line and Sinker by Royal Blood. Just a really solid classic type rock song, hard rock song with a great bass line riff, obviously that usual sort of distorted pitch manipulated type stuff which Royal Blood are known for at this point. Some really good drumming as well here, some great transitions, just a really sort of ballsy hard rock song as well. One similar to say like a Red Fang or something like that, a bit of stoner rock perhaps. Much stronger vocal performance as well. There was some punky sort of sequences in here as well, juxtaposed next to your usual sort of Royal Blood type melodies, and it's just a really balanced song as well. The next honourable mention for me has to be Fool's Errand by Fleet Foxes, and this new album is shaping up beautifully for me. It's more of this sort of medieval core, illustrious instrumentation, but the texture in this track is so good. This track in general is more conjunct than their last single, 3rd of May, and I think we sort of needed that. It is actually below the sort of 7-minute mark this time around, so I think a lot of people were looking for a bit more of like a single-like track, because the other one was really experimental. Still love that track. Probably prefer that track to this one, but this is still really solid. Some great vocals in here, some great melodies, like I said, incredibly experimental. There's some nice rhythmic touches in here as well, so yeah, definitely keep your eye out for this track. It's definitely worth a listen. Then we have Water Slide by Chon. This was ever so close to being my track of the month. Recently came out. I'm so excited for this new Chon album. Frenetic guitar playing, which is fantastic as well. The technique that these guys have, Mario and Eric, is just off the charts at this point. It's so technical. It's so melodic as well as being just catchy, just plain catchy. Unlike bands of their type, you know, like the Polyphias, the Animals as Leaders, who I still really enjoy, they're more technical without actually having the poppier aspect. I mean, Chon are like pop prog. They're catchy for instrumental music while still having this immense technical ability, and to be honest, it is my favourite of prog at the moment. I think prog is too weighted on the experimental and just technical side of things. Sometimes you just need to have fun, and this track is just a lot of fun. Definitely represents the summer we're having thus far here in the UK, so it came out at the perfect time too. It just lit up the day. Next track on our honourable mentions has to be Purple Tuesday by Reggie Snow, featuring Joey Badass and Jesse Boykins III. Even though Jesse was wasted on this track a little bit, of course Reggie and Joey still put in fantastic sequences onto this track. Joey in particular I thought sounded great on this song. It was sort of an old school type rap track. It's not as intense as what we've been hearing over the last few months, and I kind of enjoyed that this sort of release just to break things up a little bit in the rap genre, because it's all been like who can be the most experimental, who can be the most technical, who showcases, you know, the best bars and the best themes and stuff in their music, who can be the most complex, whereas this track is just sort of a roots type of rap track, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely more Reggie weighted. I think this fits into Reggie's discography a little bit more. It's a bit funkier, it's a bit, like I said, a bit more old school, but yeah, definitely worth a listen. Finishing off our honourable mentions, we have Deja Vu by Roger Waters. Actually, the most viewed song review on this YouTube channel at the moment. I really appreciate all the support on that review. A lot of people seem to be agreeing with me. Again, it's sort of experimental. It's got this sort of signature sort of Roger Waters type Floydy type atmosphere, I guess, but also very similar to, say, like a Leonard Cohen track, where it feels a little bit harrowing, a little bit maybe weathered as well. Like it is quite a wise type song, and I think the themes in this track are a little bit more current than his last track, Smell the Roses, and it had that sort of catchy nature as well, which still makes it sort of fit into like modern easy listening as well, but it has almost like a proggy nature, like a Floydy type nature, and it would showcase really well in the instrumentation. I think Roger puts in a really good vocal performance, despite obviously his voice is beginning to go now, so yeah, I definitely recommend this one as well. The best track of the month for me though has to be by Haim, and that's Right Now. I've been talking about this track to everyone I know. Really came out of nowhere. I wasn't really expecting too much from this track. I haven't really liked Haim in the past, from a sense that I always thought they were just sort of your standard type pop trio, but God, these girls are talented. I keep talking about experimental because this has been the experimental month, but this track is experimental, it's technical, but I also liked how it's sort of freeform as well. It never sort of confines itself to your usual song form. You have big distorted transitions. You'll notice there's a huge transition in this track where a lot of distorted instrumentals come in. It's loud, it's brash, it's bold, it's really good. Obviously the sort of right now type of hook, which is sang throughout, must sound brilliant live. I've heard a lot of comments that this song is fantastic live. Probably the strongest vocal performance I've heard from the lead singer of Haim. The name's just gone out of my head right now, and it's got me so excited for what they're releasing in the future. And now they've showcased this flair and this ability to just think outside the box in comparison to many of your sort of mainstream pop groups. I'm just really excited to see what they do next. So now let's move on to the dirty stuff then, the honourable mentions for the worst track of the month. No, I'm not getting explicit here. We'll start off with Heartbreak by Lady Antebellum. What a boring, bland song. Really phoned in. The vocal performance is weak. For a massive comeback, when this track was released out of nowhere, everyone thought that they had split, they were done now. Yeah, what a waste of time it was for me. It was really dull, really boring. The instrumentation never went anywhere. It was just 4 chords, I believe, or 3 chords, I think, throughout, just repeating constantly, almost on a loop. The vocal performance, as I said, was weak. And yeah, just even fans were disappointed by this track. The next honourable mention has to go to Mama by Jonas Blue featuring William Singh, a collaboration which I didn't really care about on paper and obviously don't care about right about now. So it's more of that sort of signature super generic Jonas Blue sort of mixing. The tempo's too slow to dance to, it's too high to really be seen as a proper ballad. It's more of this sort of EDM crap which Linkin Park seem to be making popular again, and it's just really dull. Again, the music that has been bad this month hasn't been proficiently bad, really just terribly put together or anything like that, or just incompetent, but rather just bland. And this track does sink into that term. It is just bland, it's boring, goes nowhere, its song form is terrible. It's just verse, chorus, quiet and chorus, double chorus, and as you keep hearing me rhyme there. So yeah, don't really recommend that one. Next one might be a little bit of a surprise to many, but it's Where Do We Go When We Go by Neck Deep. They released 2 tracks from this upcoming album. The second one I really enjoyed. I think it was Happy Judgment Day. This one was crap in my opinion, and for such a big Neck Deep fan like myself to say that, yeah, it was difficult, but it is a bad, bland track. It's again really generic. It tries to go down a poppier route. They're trying to go down a more electronic-y type route, despite being pop punk, and I mean that more in a post-production sense, not that they're adding synths and stuff like that, but they're trying to use different EQs and they're trying to make the guitars perhaps thinner so they could add some more background pads maybe, but it just didn't work out for me at all. The themes in this track are corny. The lyrics in general are just terrible in this song. Ben Barlow's vocal performance is the worst he's ever done in my opinion. He's really stripped back, really juiced away. He's just had all of his voice drained of his sort of natural tone, and I know he's not the best singer to start with, but yeah, not on my alley. The next track is First Time by Kygo featuring Ellie Goulding, and Ellie Goulding. I don't know who really takes the dominance for this track. Kygo is just used to making these really bland backing tracks, as I keep saying, just about every month, and I've been saying throughout this segment as well. It didn't really go anywhere. It was on a loop from the first 30 seconds. Ellie Goulding has completely lost her vocal tone now. She might as well be any other singer. She had probably the most unique vocal tones when she really originally broke out onto the scene. By herself, she's got to stop these crappy EDM collaborations, these moody EDM ballads, because they just suck. She started it with the sort of 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack, and it's just continuing to now, and it feels old, it feels outdated. Her vocal performance is bland to say the least, and again, it's just another one of these EDM influenced tracks that just they don't really appeal to anyone. The last honourable mention though has to go to Your Song by Rita Ora. Yeah, this was meant to be a big comeback track as well, because she hasn't released music in a little while and nobody cared, and I can kind of see why. Again, the vocal performance is dry, it's pulled back, it's dull, it doesn't utilize her capabilities as a singer. The song is basically on a loop again after the first 30 seconds. I don't think the track even changes sort of progression wise at all from verse to chorus to bridge. There wasn't even a bridge in this track, why am I even saying that? From verse to choruses and repeated choruses. Instead, things just get louder and then they get quieter again. So it's just using dynamics to make any part seem at all different. The hook is weak in this track in particular. The instrumentation is bland, the texture is bland, and it took me like 3 or 4 listens to just get each individual like instrument sort of isolated, just so I could notice what the heck they were doing. But after seeing all that or hearing all that, they weren't really doing all too much, so it was a waste of my time too. When it comes to the worst track of this month, it was actually released on the first day of this month, and I thought it was going to lead me into a month of hell when it came to reviewing, and it's actually one of my least favourite tracks of this year as well, and it's No Vacancy by OneRepublic. I've never been a big fan of OneRepublic. I've never really appreciated what they've added into the music industry. They've had some colossal tracks, but that doesn't mean I like them. I've always seen them as a worse version of Ex-Ambassadors, Imagine Dragons, and that sort of little clique, I guess you could call them by now. But they tried to go down a different route with this track, so I was excited in that sense. You know, maybe OneRepublic might actually showcase something individual about themselves. Yeah, they decided to go down the whitewash dancehall route, my least favourite of all the routes for general white guys to go down, because it just doesn't suit this sort of tone of voice. It doesn't suit them as a group either. It's really, really badly produced, actually, this track as well. Very poor for a group of this size in the music industry, I guess, for this caliber, in a certain sense, from a popularity sense. Yeah, I can barely even remember anything about this track other than it just being offensively lazy. Again, it's just on a loop after the first sort of 20-30 seconds, just with different words in the melody. The vocal performance is bad anyway. I think there's a featurette on this song, but I can't even remember it. I didn't even re-listen to it for this list, because I just know at the time it made me so angry that it could only be here. Before we finish up, I thought we'd just have a little shout out to my best independent track of this month, and that goes to Found You Out by Albany. Yeah, these guys just keep producing some stellar records. This is off their brand new EP, sort of a Brit rock group from I can't even remember where they're from here in the UK. Sounding a bit like an early Blur as well, but this track is just more of sort of like a simple Brit rock track, just really good fun really. So that just about rounds everything up here for this segment. Some exciting news and some exciting videos to come along this week. New podcast, hopefully with Matt, actually this time around again. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Comment any tracks you think I missed in this list, on either list as well, in the comment section down below. Subscribe to see more, and I'll see you around next time. Bye-bye.